Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Hey, thanks for being awesome. Okay, so this video is going to be building on top of the last video. Okay, so if you watched the last video, you essentially learned how to tune into yourself, do some breathing, before you go into, whether it's your home, a business, an establishment, coffee shop. So we're learning how to tune into our own energy and then tune into the energy of the room. And the purpose is to allow yourself to begin to notice other people's energy and where they're at in that moment. Now, the whole development of this series of techniques really was to teach men how to stop being so invasive, so pushy, so intrusive. Men do it to the extent they don't know they're doing it. They've been doing it their whole life, and they're like, what do you mean? How am I being pushy? How am I being intrusive? What do you mean? They don't notice it until I really bring them back inside themselves and connect with themselves and let go of other people energetically. And once they truly ground themselves, we go out in public and they're like, oh yeah, I see the difference now. And it's really a big, I hate to use the word, but it's a big chore. It's a lot of work to get men to tune back into their own energy. So this is a core, like a third of the entire core piece of what I teach in my course, Cracked Female Code. And anytime I'm working with anybody, whether it's emotional healing, emotional freedom, tuning yourself in, helping yourself to calm down because you have anxiety or whatever, a big part of what I'm going to be teaching you is these internal awareness techniques. Why and for what purpose? So you can tune into yourself, and what this does is it calms you down. And now it gives you a greater awareness of what's going on around you, which helps you to calm down and feel safe. Because now you're aware of what's going on. So if there's some activity or energy that's not good, well, you can walk away. So the number one tool is to connect with yourself and your own emotions and opening up to your own energy. Now here's why. If you're not connected to your body, so let's say you're up in your head and you're up in your forehead. Well, now you're disconnected from your five senses. And you're not feeling what your body, your legs, your arms, your back, your belly, your chest, everything is feeling. The vibrational awareness that your body, your physical flesh, your skin, is picking up from the outside world around you. Now, a side note for men, when you learn how to tune in this way, it shows higher intelligence to a woman. This is your five senses emotional intelligence. And this shows that you're not Mr. Oblivious, bouncing around, bumping into things and have no idea who you're pissing off. Most men, I'm sorry to say, they really are focused, which means you're blind to everything around outside of that narrow focus. And that's what women call obliviousness. It's not attractive. But tuning in, self-awareness, and being aware is very attractive. It's called catching a clue. Now, let's get back to everyone. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to tune into your body, because your body is connected to your radar system. Think of your nerves connecting to every molecule, every cell in your body, every piece. How do I explain? Because it's smaller than an inch. It's smaller than a centimeter, square centimeter. It's your entire surface of your skin. That is what's picking up on the vibrations and energy around you. So if someone looks at you with a laser beam, you're going to feel it. And by sensing that, you can automatically know, what kind of energy they're giving off. It's very linear, it's very focused, so they're probably in a very logical space in that moment. And they might shift an hour or 2 hours later or the next day or whatever. Now, a lot of men, until I open them up and tune them back in and reconnect them to their own bodies, they don't believe me when I say, if you're laser beaming a woman, say, from 15 feet away across the room, she can feel it. Now, the reason why men don't believe this, or not all men, a lot of men, is because they can't feel it because they're not connected to their body. They're stuck up inside their head. Now, obviously for women, we're going into a more and more logical society with more science and computer and digital and all that stuff. A lot of women are becoming heady. And so, yet, I would still say most of those women still are aware of what it means to be tuned in. So these techniques and exercises can absolutely magnify it. So for a lot of people that are sensitive, you're thinking, well, I don't want to tune into my emotions. I don't want to get hurt. No, you're getting hurt because you're in that very narrow focus, and what that causes is every little detail seems to be blown out of proportion, and that affects you emotionally in that way. But if you learn to open up and ground your energy, somebody could say something mean and it won't bother you at all. So obviously learning how to ground and connect with your energy, it calms you down and you just kind of see things for the way they are. And they tend to be a lot more comfortable and easier to deal with when you're in this space. And when I say tend to, I mean a lot actually. Alright, so in the last video I talked about kind of stopping in your car before you walk into a coffee shop or wherever, tuning in, doing some breathing. So instead of like going from one place to another and jumping out of your car and taking that energy into your home, to your family, or into a business or establishment, you stop, you tune in, you do some deep breathing, you slow down, and you physically look around and begin to notice the energy around you, including the energy if there's windows. You can kind of get a sense. Okay, the word energy might be kind of too big of a word right now. But you can kind of look in the windows and notice the people that are around the front door, what the energy's like. A lot of times someone's going 100 miles an hour and they're walking into a place that everyone's really calm and it's really quiet. And they just like, everyone's like, whoa, dude, you're like blowing us out of the water. Calm down. We have a really good vibe going on here. So that's why it's really important to just stop, take a couple breaths, blow it out. So then what you can do is you can walk into the establishment and then tune into the energy or the activity, the movement, etc., the volume of the room. So I'm going to call that energy. So you kind of tune into that, right? So the next step, as I said in the last video, is you begin to tune into other people's energy. Not necessarily meaning invade their energy, but meaning notice where they're at in the moment. Now, the reason why I emphasize notice where they're at in the moment is because for men, now women, yeah, they tend to be more aware of this because it generally tends to be a right brain function. Whereas men, they take these pickup artist courses, they learn openers and lines, and they just walk up to some girl blindly, literally blindly. I mean, they have eyes. They can see that they're not going to run into the pole or the curb, but they can't tune in and go, wait a minute, she's crying. I actually have seen this happen. A buddy of mine did this. This girl was bawling. She was crying. Tears were pouring down her eyes. And I remember, I was, Andrew, not this girl. Don't, please. Andrew, no, dude. He jumps out of the truck and walks up there and starts talking to her. And her head was down. And she's looking away. And she kept walking. And he goes, F you, you F and B word. And I'm like, Andrew, stop. He goes, oh, F her, man. Who does she think she is? She thinks she's better than me? I'm like, Andrew, she's crying. He goes, what? She turns around and goes, my dad just died, you asshole. And he goes, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. And I'm like, and he looked at me and goes, how did you know? I go, I looked at her. So believe it or not, a lot of men just want to rush in. That's kind of the male brain. Point A, the fastest point between A and B, get there as fast as possible. That's a very left brain thing. Well, when we're going into social situations, that's more of a right brain thing. So it's really important to just kind of tune in and notice, what mood is someone in? What is their energy? Where's their emotions at? And not only that, but maybe they're not making eye contact for a reason because they want to be left alone because something bad may have just happened. These concepts I have to teach to every single one of my male clients. This is just not a part of the male way of being. We like a girl, she's pretty, she's hot. We walk up, we want to go out with her, want to get her number, and it's just like, it's oblivious. So for men, buy my book, Crack the Female Code, if you want to go more in that direction. For now, I'm going to teach everyone on this channel a very, very simple what's the, not idea, it's a simple, hold on, let me try to find the word for that. A very simple concept that, especially for empaths and light workers and people that are just heart-based individuals, it'll help you to navigate life a lot better. It'll give you an actual tool to go, oh, okay, this simplifies things. And it will help you to keep from taking on other people's energy, especially if they're in a bad space. And the other thing it'll do is, if you know how a true empath, if they're not grounded, if they walk in a room, they'll take on the energy of the room, and it could totally shift them into tears and they don't know why, or panic. Okay, I'll give you a real life example. So I was going to go to a Starbucks. I think this was when I was writing my book, Cracked Female Code. It was about during that time. I remember I was walking towards Starbucks, and as I was walking about half a block away, I did a couple deep breaths, started slowing down, started relaxing, and I started to tune into the environment all the way across the street and into the buildings and businesses I was walking by. And as I pulled up to Starbucks, or walked up, I should say, I'd already parked my car, I was walking. I kind of slowly was going past the window, and I was kind of tuning in, watching what's going on, the speed, the tempo, the rhythm. And the other thing I did, now this is really important, and it's what I said earlier in this video and also the last video and the video before, is what I did was I tuned into my own energy, and I'm like, okay, where am I at emotionally? I was like, I'm in a pretty good mood. I'm clear-headed. I feel good. I feel grounded. Like, yeah, I'm in a good mood. I feel solid. I walked into the room, and instantly, boom, I felt sad. I felt this overwhelming, I want to say the S word, but the S, very depressed, like extreme depression. I was like, okay, that's not me. That was the first time in my life I was like, okay, now even though I'm feeling it, I'm realizing like I wasn't feeling this before I walked into this place. This is coming from this room. So I started to look around, and this is the technique I'm going to get to. Okay, so this is what I did. I'm going to use the story and then afterwards explain what I did. So number one, I slowed down, tuned in before I even got to the corner, which is where Starbucks was at, and I tuned into the environment, I tuned into my own emotions and feelings, and right when I got to Starbucks, I looked in, I tuned in, I didn't walk in, I stopped, and I tuned in, and I felt my own energy. So number one, I knew where I was at emotionally and energetically, okay? Number two, I did tune into the energy, kind of got a general idea of it before opening the door, at least the tempo and the speed people were going in there. So I walked in the room, and then number three, I felt this energy of extreme suicidal depression. It was really bad. And I was like, okay, what's the word I'm looking for? This solidified to me like, okay, now I'm recognizing when it's someone else's energy. Okay, and that was a really cool thing because I was physically feeling it in my body, which is what a lot of empaths will do. We will take on other people's energy. So if you can just have a logical awareness or conscious awareness of like, okay, this is what I was feeling. I opened the door, walking in, boom, half a second, this feeling is going into me. I thought, okay, this is very interesting. I tuned in, and I'm sensing the energy of each individual person as I'm going around, and there's this kind of double like chair thing, like two couches pushed back to back, but it was made out of wood. And I noticed it was coming from the other side, so I kind of walked around this round table, and I noticed like, oh yeah, that girl is really depressed. So I went and ordered hot chocolate, and I eventually sat down to at a table that was I think it was two over. It might have been right next to her. It was kind of spaced away, I think. And I just put my headphones on. I went in my own world, blah, 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 blah. And I forget whether I asked her something or said, excuse me, can you hand me a napkin? I forget what it was. She might have actually asked me something. But we started talking, and I'm going to cut right to the chase. What it allowed me to do was do some work with her to heal her of what she was going through. Yes, she was in a very, very bad space. So I shared this story a while back. This was the girl that, I want to say girl because she was young. She's probably 19, 20, 21, 22 max. I would say 3 months later, 6 months, I don't remember. This is a long time ago. I was at that Starbucks, and she walked in. She goes, hey, you're that guy. And she was her energy was in a much better space. And she goes, what did you do to me? And I played dumb and said, I didn't do anything. She goes, no, you did. I remember when I walked away from you, I was so happy and I felt so good. And she goes, what did you do? And then I told her everything that I was trained in and what I do, et cetera, et cetera. And she's like, and she hugged me. She said, thank you so much. She goes, it changed my life. So an interaction like that, I have to be really grounded and tuned in, which I was in that day. And the other person had to be a willing participant where and here's the thing, she was actually looking for someone. And I think it was during the conversation, she said, I was actually looking for someone that I could talk to. And I said, yeah, that's why I sat down next to you. I could feel your energy. So it has to be kind of a two-way road, like two open roads for it to happen that fast. So now let's get to the technique that can help you just navigate through life a little bit better, building on the last one, which built on the last video, etc. So if you didn't watch the last video, I would recommend that you do. I know it's kind of a long video, it's about 35 minutes or something, but I really teach some good stuff on how to breathe, how to relax, So number one, before you go into any establishment or before you go from work into your home, park your car, or if you're walking, stop before you even walk up to the door, breathe, take a couple deep breaths, bring your awareness back inside. Okay, here's how easy that is. Before I mentioned it, you didn't notice the back of your left elbow. Boom, right like that, your awareness went there. That's how easy it is to do. Just allow your awareness to drop down inside your belly in your solar plexus area. And just kind of tune in, just kind of get an idea of what you're feeling inside. Just notice it. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm seeing a white light. If you do, that's fine. But just kind of get an idea like, well, my stomach's kind of tight or it's loose. Or man, I'm really breathing really deep. I feel really relaxed. Or whatever it is, there's no judgment. Just notice your energy. Just notice what you're feeling. Just notice what you're noticing. So take a couple breaths, walk in, if you can, get a sense of the energy of the business, coffee shop, room before you go in there. And then when you walk in, just kind of notice what you're sensing, all right? Let's say you're at a coffee shop, you buy a hot chocolate, you're kind of noticing the space around you and noticing the movement of the people. And that's part of what I'm doing. I'm just noticing, are they moving fast? Are they moving slow? Is there agitation? Is it like, no, they're in a really good mood? Just start noticing this. Now, here is the biggest tip. All of us, including you and me, are nothing more than balls of energy. We are just a bundle of electromagnetic energy, meaning we are emotions, we are feelings, we are energy movement. Some is fast, some is slow, some is chaotic, some is scattered, some is clear, some is smooth. So if you just do this one thing, take on this one concept, and here it is. Just begin to notice that everyone has a ball of energy inside and out, that they are literally a big ball of energy. And that energy is experienced as emotions. It's also expressed as emotions. Meaning everything they do is a form of communication. The way they're breathing, the way they're standing, are they slouching? Is their spine leaned forward? Is their head looking down? Is it looking up? Are their shoulders back? Are they fidgety? Are they really calm and grounded and relaxed? Are they breathing deep into their belly? Are their eyes really focused? Are they talking intensely like this? All we're doing, now here's my point, all we are doing, all of us, all the time, is expressing the emotions that we're in that very moment. And we are always communicating and expressing that energy through our body language and thus creating emotions. So what's a better way of saying that? We are always communicating our emotions. That's all I'm saying. And we do it in more than just talking. A lot of people think, well, they didn't say that. Well, What's the look on their face? What's the look in their eyes? Are their pupils dilated? Are their pupils narrow and small and pulled together? Are they spaced out a little bit? Are the muscles in their face relaxed and they have a rounder, softer features such as their chin, their jaw, and their cheekbones and around their eyes and forehead? Or is it really focused and it's tight and narrow and it's more angular? Number one, all I'm saying is we are always expressing our emotions and feelings in the moment. So number two, which really is number one, is the concept that we are always in this ball of energy. So if you, okay, I'm going to give you a real life example. Now, one of the things is I had started using this concept to begin to relate to people a lot better versus getting caught up in their anger and not realizing they're mad. Said, "Hey, how you doing?" Rah, whoa, shit, yelling at me, or whatever it is. So I'm driving down the road where I live. I was going down, technically that would be 2nd Street. I was going to the highway because I was going into the city. I don't remember what I was doing or why. It was morning traffic. It was about 8 a.m. or something like that, 7:45, 7:50, maybe 8:05, but close to 8 a.m. And essentially it was rush hour traffic. Now we only have about 3 or 4 blocks of traffic before we get on the freeway, but sometimes the freeway can be backed up. It hasn't been that way since the lockdowns, but before that, yeah, it could be backed up quite a bit. Now, as I'm driving down the road, I did my deep breathing before I got in my car and I calmed down and I drove very patiently. And while I was doing this, I was kind of looking around, tuning into other people's energy. And there was this one guy. So this is let's see, is that a 3-lane? I think it's a 4-lane road. I'm trying to remember. I think it's a 4-lane at one point, but regardless, I'm in the far right lane, and there's this guy ahead of me in the lane next to me to the left, and he's up in front about 5 cars or so, and I could see he's kind of erratic. He's moving in his car, and he kind of looking left, and he's looking around for something. I'm like, what is this guy doing? Now I've noticed his energy is erratic and scattered and staticky. So I began to pick up that this guy's angry, but here's the funny thing. He at least I don't think so. He wasn't really in a hurry to get to wherever he was going because he was looking left and looking right, like he was trying to get mad at someone for something. And then what he did was he noticed there was an opening. He sped up and he barely squeezed in. He hit his brakes on purpose, even though the cars in front of him, there was like 4 car spaces that were wide open. And then he looked back and flipped the person off, and that person was going, "Dude, like, what the hell? You cut me off." Well, that wasn't from his perspective. So then that car got an opening. I think it was back on the left side, and he went past that guy. And I noticed this guy kept looking around like he didn't get his full, whatever out of this. Okay, he was still had this energy inside, and what he was trying to do is throw it off on someone else, trying to like give it to you, project, "Oh, it's your fault. My anger is your fault," even though he was already angry before he got into the car. So there was an opening to his left, and then he eventually got over, and now he's looking around, and then there was an opening to the right of him. And what happened was I sped up before he noticed it because I knew it was like, oh shit, there's nobody in front of me, and if he can cut over and pull his bullshit on me. And I zipped right past him as he starts looking to the right, and I looked at him and he went, "Oh man, like I missed it. I missed an opportunity to get mad at someone." Now here's what I noticed. His energy was in his forehead. It was concentrated in his forehead and his eyes. So that's the tip of the V that I keep talking about. Now if you go to the tip of the inside of the V, you can't get out because the 2 lines come together to a point. Now you're inside there and you're trying to push and push and push and push and push, and it's very frustrating, okay? Now this is when Jesus said to, I forget the name, it was the person that said, "Oh, I'll never let them kill you," because Jesus announced like, "Hey, this is what's going to happen to me. They're going to hurt me. They're going to beat me. They're going to crucify me." And they're like, and I think it was Peter or Paul, and they said, "I will never," their ego said, "I will never let them do that." And Jesus said, "Get behind thee, Satan." So when you're in the tip of the V, it's when you're in your reptilian brain, which is the kill or be killed brain. It's the egotistical brain. By the way, this is the brain. The nerves connect to your tailbone area. There's a center mass of a bundle of nerves down there in your tailbone, and this is your animalistic brain communicating. So I mean the reptilian brain inside your head, your skull, located on the base of your, oh man, your sorry, the big words I'm losing, to the base of your brainstem, and that's directly connected to your tailbone. And they've actually done tests where there's like an instantaneous, the minute your body feels something, boom, it goes in your brain. You have in that part of your brain, and you have a physical reaction. It's to help protect yourself. So this is the tip of the V. When you're focused, you're very narrow, your pupils are small, like eye of the needle, like you can barely poke a needle through there. So when you're in this tip, you have all this energy, but it's not going anywhere. So when Jesus said, "Get behind thee, Satan," he meant to reverse that, and now you're in peripheral vision. Now your pupils are larger and wider, and they're pulled apart to where now you're seeing wide open. So essentially you're turning this V around, and you're looking out to the open end, and now your energy flows freely. That is what all the internal awareness techniques are all about, is turning this around. So now you're functioning on a higher level because you're open. And what happens is there's an artery in that lower reptilian brain. When it relaxes, it opens wide open and allows the blood to flow into the larger human brain, thus opening up to the right brain, which is the open brain, which is the brain of love and emotions and the five senses and feelings, etc. And now you're tuned in and you're emotionally grounded. And this is emotional freedom. I bet you didn't know that. So your mental and emotional freedom is very possible. And by the way, if you feel stuck, all we have to do is turn your frown upside down and you come to this open end of the V. So in other words, you turn it around, which I'll show you how, which I've been doing through these exercises, by the way. And this allows you to have an open, spacious awareness, which gives you your freedom. And it opens you up to feeling good inside, emotionally and physically. So for right now, I want you guys to do is when you go into a group, a room with people in it, just begin to first notice your own emotions, your own energy, where you're at physically, and then just kind of go into peripheral vision. While you do that, tune into your body and notice each person's energy and notice the difference between them. Whatever it is, well, this guy's talking faster, this guy's going slower, this one's kind of got dark energy, well, this one has just kind of light and bouncy and very emotionally free. Like, just notice the differences, whatever they are. And that's it for the lesson. All right, God bless you guys. And by the way, if you do come in and do some one-on-one coaching or training with me, we will go much more in depth on these techniques and how to really, really tune in. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the like button. Please click subscribe, click the bell, and go ahead and make a comment. And if you want, you can go ahead and leave a donation. There is a PayPal link right there in the description box. God bless you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.